May I come in, sir?
Come in.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
sir.
Please sit down, please.
Thank you.
Alright. So, you spent good years in Panipat?
Yes, sir.
How long?
Sir, I'm from Panipat. I did my schooling till 6th standard in Panipat.
Till now you're in Panipat, except that you did your college from Independence.
No, sir. Sir, I did my schooling from a boarding school in Hisar. After that, I did my graduation and masters from Delhi.
So Panipat, which area you live in? Panipat.
I was a resident of Panipat till 2010. Then I moved to a boarding
The
school.
Panipat city?
Yes, sir.
The main city?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so Panipat is a historical place. Narrate in just a few words about the historical significance of Panipat.
Yes, sir. So Panipat is a historical city, and it is famous for the 3 battles of Panipat that happened in Panipat. The first one was between Babur and Ibrahim Lodi in 1526. The second between Akbar and Hilmu in 1556, and the third between Ahmad Shah Abdali and the Marathas in 1761. These battles have shaped the course of Indian history, and after the third battle of Panipat in 1761, the British began their empire in India.
But why these 3 momentous battles were fought at Panipat only? Why not in Sonipat? Why not in Hisar? Why not in Karnal?
Sir, Panipat, the battles were fought in Panipat because also of the geographical location. So Panipat is located close to the capital Delhi, that was the capital of many empires at that time. Also, most of the emperors, or most of the invaders, so to say, came from the western frontier of India, the northwestern frontier. And the emperors of Delhi found Panipat to be a right place to engage, to fight the battle with the invader. Also, sir, Panipat gets less rainfall as compared to Delhi, and it has more level land. So it was considered easier for the king to move its infantry and its troops there.
Fair enough. Now, what are the industrial strengths of Panipat? In which area it is excelled? Industrial landscape of Panipat.
Yes, sir. So Panipat is famous for its textile industry. Some of the biggest exporters of textile are from Panipat. Amongst the textile industry, the power loom, the hand loom, Panipat is a big manufacturer of bed sheets, bed covers, curtains, rugs, comforters, etc. It is also known as the casting of capital of the world because major recycling of these fabrics happens in Panipat.
A major oil marketing company is based in Panipat.
Yes, sir.
Name it.
So there is oil refinery, IOCL oil refinery.
Have you been there?
Sir, I have seen it from outside. I haven't gone
You have not
inside.
gone to the campus. Okay.
I have
Coming
seen
back to Hisar, what is so great about Hisar in terms of its historical importance, as well as certain institutions are there in Hisar, academic institutions?
Yes, sir. Sir, in terms of the academic institutions, Hisar is famous for its agricultural university.
Good.
And there's also a research institution with respect to the buffaloes, with respect to buffaloes, and how better breeds of buffaloes can be there to enhance the dairy production and dairy sector of India. Sir, in terms of historicity, I'm sorry, I cannot recall at this point.
Any Indus sites nearby Hisar?
Sir, Rakhi Gadi.
That's what
Yes,
I was
sir.
asking you. Have
Yes.
you been to Rakhi Gadi?
No, sir.
You did not visit?
No, sir.
Why? Why not?
Sir, I think I did not get an opportunity because my boarding school environment largely restricted us to staying within the school.
You had Pol Science as your optional paper?
Yes, sir.
And Pol Science in graduation also?
Yes, sir.
Both of it.
Yes.
So, it's a vast subject. Which area I can ask you a couple of questions? I'll give you the area. IR theory or IR international affairs or Indian government politics or political thinkers or political theory. What area I'm telling you?
Sir, international relations is my area of interest, and I also want to become an Indian Foreign Service officer.
That's your first choice?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, good. Now, starting with Westphalia Treaty, let's start the evolution of how Westphalia Treaty has impacted international relations. You know about Westphalia Treaty?
Yes, sir. So, Westphalia Treaty was an important treaty because it led to the creation of sovereign government, if I'm not wrong. So for the first time, sovereign states were created, and it also created a platform wherein different powers of Europe could engage with each other to ensure there is more stability and peace at the international level, because that was
How
considered.
that sovereignty concept that that originated in conference has impacted international relations? What is the role of sovereignty in international relations?
So international relations is basically about relations between sovereign states, because it's about relations between sovereign states and how they can interact to ensure greater to defend their national interest and also ensure world peace. So sovereign states enabled the domain of IR to actually take shape.
Alright, so this process of globalization, it has diluted the concept of national sovereignty, or it has perpetuated the concept of national sovereignty?
So
What
it's
is the link between the two?
Yes, sir. Sir, it's a debatable question whether globalization has enhanced state sovereignty or diminished it. There are some thinkers who defend globalization, and they believe that globalization has rather enhanced state sovereignty. For example, there are thinkers who believe that globalization has increased the resources at the disposal of a state to improve its governance and its power to better implement its services. For example, the technological revolution that has been brought about by globalization. But there are also thinkers who believe that globalization has diminished state sovereignty. For example, various institutions like the European Union that emerged is said to have diminished the role of sovereign states. And also, sir, globalization has led to various non-state actors. For example, the MNCs, the terrorist organizations, which are also seen as institutions which have diminished the sovereignty of states.
Okay, that's fair enough. Now, Ukraine war, such a prolonged war, which was not anticipated at all. What do you think is the best way to end the war at this stage, considering the past few months of the war?
So Ukraine war has been a long stretched war indeed, and I think, according to me, the most practical and pragmatic way of ending the war is both sides have to come to a negotiating table and have to compromise on their demands, because the demands that they are raising at this point are not something that are able to find. We have to actually find a middle ground where both sides make some compromises, because the war has become a war of attrition, where both parties are in the war and they're waiting for the other party to get tired and to move away from the war. So, sir, I think both sides have to come together and have to make certain fundamental compromises through which they can actually come to a middle.
What compromise you expect Russia to make?
Sir, practically, I think we cannot. Practically, I think Russian forces have overtaken some eastern provinces of Ukraine. For example, the Donetsk, Kherson, and I think if Ukraine can compromise some of these territories, where people are also of ethnically Russian origin, and Russia agrees to only restrict its incursion to these eastern areas and not move beyond that, I think that can be one way, because I don't think Russia is also going to quit.
Is that the main issue of the war? The main issue is NATO's
Yes, sir.
expansion.
Exactly, sir. The main issue remains that the eastward expansion of NATO. Sir, secondly, I was coming to that. So the first will be this, and secondly, if Ukraine can give some guarantee to Russia in terms of that it will not engage with NATO, it will not join NATO, it might engage but it will not join NATO. So because that was the fundamental reason why the war broke out.
Okay. How do you look at the present world? It is a unipolar world or a multipolar world or a bipolar world?
So that again is a very debatable question. It's open to interpretation, but I think the world is increasingly becoming multipolar, because new powers, global powers are coming on the world stage. We see there's US, there's China, there are other countries such as India, France. They're emerging on the world scene and they're playing important role in shaping the international discourse. We see how India is now taking the presidency of the G20, and it is also a very important power. So I think so the world is moving towards a multipolar world order.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You said, let's start from your hobbies. You said badminton is your hobby, isn't
Yes,
it?
sir.
Any other?
So traveling.
Traveling.
Yes, sir.
Where have you traveled and what are your travel wishes?
Wishes.
Where would you like to go? Internationally and nationally?
Sir, nationally, I have recently I went to Sariska National Park after my mains examination.
Sariska?
Sariska Tiger Reserve in Alwar district of Rajasthan, and I've travelled to different parts of India.
Did you see any tigers there?
No, sir. I could not see any tiger. We saw some nilgai and some.
You don't see tigers even in Corbett National Park. Forget about Sariska.
Also, so they said that we went in the winter time. At that time, the chance of tiger coming out is very low.
You don't want to go to the northeast?
I have been to the northeast.
You have been to the, where all?
I have been to Manipur, and not like I've been to Sikkim, not part of the Seven Sisters, but yes, I've been to Sikkim.
How did you travel to Manipur?
So by flight.
By flight. Suppose if you have to go by rail and road, how will you go to Manipur?
Sir, I'm not sure of the train that goes from Delhi to Manipur. Even by flight, we had a layover, and by road. So it will be interesting to travel by road and railways, but I haven't tried.
No, but you know the routes. I mean, I'm only asking about routes. What places will fall on way if you go by road or by train?
So if I imagine that I take a train from Delhi to Manipur,
Leave
perhaps
aside this mainland. After that, when you enter there, that chicken neck, from that you start.
so
Do you know the names of any places? You have visited the areas. That is why I am asking. Otherwise, you may not know the names of the places in the northeast.
So there is Siliguri, which is close to the chicken neck corridor, and after Siliguri, I will perhaps enter. From Siliguri, that is West Bengal, I will.
Which is the next major halt or major city?
After Siliguri,
Yes.
so Assam is close by, Guwahati is close by, Guwahati is there, and then I will go to Manipur.
That's very simple anyway.
Okay. Now, tell me one thing. What did you do during COVID? Any addition to your personality, knowledge, or plans? How did you spend COVID?
So my COVID was primarily at home. In March, my university, I'm from Jawaharlal Nehru University. So March, our university was shut, the lockdown was imposed. I was at home for 8 months. I did an internship at that time, an online internship. Since I was doing I was doing my MA, I wanted to do an academic related internship. So I did work as a research intern at Policy Change Initiative.
What was your research subject?
So my research subject was I was interested in studying about the education of the children of the migrant labor in India. So when these migrant laborers travel from one place to another in search of work, they often take their children along with them.
How do you study? Which area did you study? I mean, physically?
Yes, sir.
Geography?
Since it was pandemic, I could not go there, but I used secondary data. For example, I studied about some of the districts of Odisha, how the districts like Nuapada, Kandahar, and Cuttack. In those districts, there are tribal migrants who, after the harvest of the kharif crop, go to neighboring districts to work in the brick kiln sector And what about their children? Some of them take their children along.
Okay, fine. Now tell me, what is 5G?
So 5G is the new generation of internet revolution through which high-speed data connectivity is to be ensured.
How does it differ from 4G?
So
Some main things I don't expect you to know all the details.
in terms of the speed is higher, and
what will be the applicability?
so 5G will be used in almost every arena that we can think of, from space technology to better communication, social media, implementation of government schemes, digital payments, enhancing the effectiveness of the digital public infrastructure. So I don't think there's any arena which will be left
Have you
out.
heard a term called public key infrastructure? You mentioned just now. What is public key infrastructure?
So, public key infrastructure are the critical infrastructure which are important for stable functioning of
What
the
is
government.
public key?
Sir, if I may take a guess, it's the communication infrastructure and the financial infrastructure.
No, not that. Okay, fine.
I see your father's profession is business.
So, ma'am, we have a retail shop since we're from Panipat. Panipat is a famous textile hub. So, we
Okay.
have a shop, retail shop, from where we sell bed sheet, bed cover, and curtains.
Okay.
Your family business.
Yes, sir.
In India, you have traveled quite a bit. Since it's a hobby.
Yes, ma'am. It's a hobby. I've been to some states and I want to travel to more.
Where all apart from the northeast that you told him, where else?
I have been to Kerala. I have been for a short time to Pune, to Maharashtra. And I have traveled to Uttarakhand, to Himachal Pradesh, to Jammu and Kashmir.
So now you tell me, during your travels, what did you feel about environment, its preservation and its deterioration?
Ma'am, firstly, I was very overwhelmed and enamored by the environment and the beauty of India because I've grown up in an urban city all my life. So the fact that I saw the first hand the beauty of Kerala or the beauty of Kashmir was overwhelming. But secondly, I also witnessed that this environment is also under threat. For example, we are seeing what happened in Joshimath recently. And also when I went to Jammu and Kashmir, I remember I felt when I was in Srinagar that the city was polluted. Even the air felt like polluted because of the tourism, heavy tourism.
So what's the solution?
Ma'am, we need for the solution we need multiple stakeholders to come together because the problem is huge. There are different problems. For example, the water pollution, the air pollution, the traffic congestion, the increasing urbanization, poor lack of planning. For example, in Joshimath, clearly the land subsidence is a result of a lot of poor planning because the soil is very loose. So, ma'am, different stakeholders need to take charge to ensure that there is sustainable tourism in these states.
But do you need to travel so much then?
Yes, sir.
As an individual, do we need to travel? Should we not curtail our traveling
No, sir.
instinct?
So I think travel rejuvenates the soul, and traveling is one of the best ways of actually learning. I think we can learn most about life in different cultures through traveling, and that is why it is my hobby, and I don't think I would ever move away from
Okay,
traveling.
that's fine. You have been traveling.
Yes, ma'am.
They say India, unity in diversity. How is it? Every state has a different language, different basic customs, etc. So how is it unity?
Ma'am, it is rightly said that India is unity in diversity, and you rightly pointed out that the states are so diverse. Yet, even when the states are so diverse, we are able to come together and form one strong country, which is also the largest democracy of the world. Despite having so much diversity, we have a functioning government, a functioning judiciary. There is, despite the different languages, there are countries which have broken apart because there were two language issues. People, there are countries like Sri Lanka.
So only a constitution from above, that is integrating India.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, despite having diversity, we feel that we're Indian.
But
Nationality is a psychological concept, and even when there are people who come from the northeast, from south, from Maharashtra, they still feel that they're Indian, and that is why we're united.
okay, can you tell me, do you think the democracy is running well in India?
Ma'am, I think Indian democracy or any other democracy in the world is a work in progress. While we're doing well in several arenas, for example, the voter turnouts in India are one of the largest in the world. Our women are voting more than men. This itself shows the strength of Indian democracy, how it has been able to
That
bring
is because migrant labor, they can't vote.
Ma'am, but we're doing something about that also. The Election Commission has come with a with a pilot plan to ensure that these people are also able to
But
vote.
it is also not functioning in many ways.
Yes, ma'am, there are arenas where we need to work on. For example, sometimes our parliament is not able to be productive. There is a lot of there is poor functioning, poor effective functioning, productive days.
What
are
do you
missed.
think about the governor and chief ministers fighting with each other, or LG or chief minister fighting?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not a running democracy.
Ma'am, but we can, that you are right to point that out, but I don't think one incident or two incidents should define what India stands for and the reality of India. Sure, these instances can be avoided if both sides show political maturity.
Okay, what you tell me, why do you think there is so much of violence against women in India? It's a very broad question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, violence against women in India is a reality, and there are several reasons for that. One, the first and foremost, I believe it is the lack of gender sensitization and the norm of patriarchy, the male dominance is that continues. It's about the thinking of the people which continue to see.
So how do you change the thinking?
Ma'am, it is a long drawn process which has to be a multi-pronged strategy. For example, children from the starting have to be taught to respect women. There has to be more gender sensitization in school, gender sensitization of the police, all stakeholders
But if there
of the
is a
society.
situation, some boy has come from a village where to a metro town to study. There he is told that you should respect women. He goes back home and sees his father beating his mother, and he stops him. What will happen, do you think? The whole village will go against him. So what do you say for such a situation?
Ma'am, I agree that it will be difficult for him to bring a change on ground because he's one person who's fighting against the rest. But that should not stop one still continue to stand for the right, because that's how we can actually bring a change. When somebody learns better in one domain of life and can actually come back and share that experience at home, because charity begins at home. If this particular boy will not raise a voice at home, then who will? So that is how a trickle down will happen, and somebody has to start.
Mr. Ji, your take.
Where were you in January 2015?
January 2015, I was in my 11th standard in my boarding school
In Hisar. Something happened in Panipat on 20th January 2015, which led to a basic change in the concept toward the women. What was that, and why was Panipat chosen?
Sir, in January 2015, the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao scheme was launched in Panipat. The Honorable Prime Minister launched the scheme from Panipat, and as per my knowledge, I believe the scheme started in Panipat because Panipat is a city which has one of the lowest child sex ratios in the country, and that is why.
Fair enough. Now, how it has changed for Panipat and in general? Are there some statistical data to support it has helped?
So the census result is not yet out, but I think based on the NFHS survey,
Yes.
the sex ratio has improved.
What is the not current in Patiala, Panipat?
Sir, I'm not sure of the Panipat, the improvement of the sex ratio of Panipat, but the sex ratio of Haryana has improved. Now it is close to 890, I believe.
Okay.
It was.
And female fasticide has come down. I mean, you pointed out very rightly.
Yes.
National, this NSFW survey is very important. What is your first choice in the service?
So the Indian Foreign Service.
Oh, you have taken Indian Foreign
Yes.
Service. Generally, we say a very sweeping remark, and I'm making it, and you are posted somewhere, which is your country you love. Country you love to have posting in at the foreign as a diplomat.
So I think
Anything.
yes, sir. So let's say country like the UK.
UK. Okay. And generally prevalent one-liner is Haryana has no culture, only agriculture. And you have to promote Haryana. What you will do? First, do you agree with this kind of remark that Haryana has no culture, only agriculture?
No, sir. I do not agree to the
Yes.
statement. Haryana is a very vibrant state of India. The people, for example, while agriculture is an important part of Haryana, and I think that is also something that we have to be proud of. We are the grain basket of the
No,
country.
tell me about the culture.
Apart from the culture, we can see in different domains. We have a famous shire called Hali from Panipat, my own district. Haryana is a historic city famous for its battles. The
Yes.
textile hub, it's a textile hub for not just the country but the world. Apart from that, there is Haryanvi dance, Haryanvi folk culture, Haryanvi
What is
music.
Ragini?
Sorry, sir.
Ragini, there is a form of singing. Is it called Ragini? I think it's called Ragini.
Sir, I can't recall the word Ragini.
Okay. So what you will do in UK to promote Haryana as cultural hub? People should visit Haryana. What are the spots you would like people to say Indian diaspora there? What are the things you will do for Haryana?
So I will popularize the Haryana's culture, Haryana's tourism, Haryana's different industries. For example, I can talk about Kurukshetra, the land where the Mahabharata is supposed to be fought. There is the Kalandar Shah Mosque in Panipat, which is considered very famous. Apart from that, sir, Haryana's tourism, we can talk about, there are, for example, the Sukhna Lake in Chandigarh, the Corbusier, like the great Corbusier who designed the city of Chandigarh. I will use these.
Wonderful. Rightly, I get your point. How did it? Do you know there was no tourism in Haryana, say 30 years back? How did it happen? It was Bansila's time. How did Haryana roadways, if you drive down now, compared to the only concept which everyone has borrowed from Haryana? What is that? Roadsides of Haryana, dhabas. I mean, everywhere you get, it was nowhere in this country. UP anywhere.
Yes, sir. Sir, Murthal especially.
Murthal.
People
go
from
Delhi.
all over, I mean, my friends from Delhi, they just want to go to Haryana to be
Very, very crowded. Sukhdev is the very. No, you are Haryana Foreign Service. You are God's grace, you would become the diplomat, you become the collector, you get IAS, and you are posted in your home state. There is a lot of khab. They impose decisions. You are posted in Sonepat. How would you implement? There is a khab. Women not to wear this, not to do that. No consent of women as such is taken. Many places in the world. How you are a collector and you have to implement Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. How would you do it?
Sir, as a collector, it's my responsibility to follow the law of land and the schemes of the government, the protocol that has been set. I will follow it for their implementation. Sir, I will make sure that the influence of CHAP is the minimal on the implementation at least of the schemes, because that is my domain. I will ensure what is my domain, at least.
How would you ensure it? I want to know that.
Sir, I will ensure that people under me and people, all the stakeholders related to the schemes, the government schemes, for example, the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, are doing the task properly and are not getting influenced by unnecessary social influences, because the Supreme Court also said the CHAP cannot be the social conscience of people. So I will ensure that this kind of unnecessary influence is avoided. I will ensure accountability, there's transparency, there are proper checks, there are people also come together to ensure there's social auditing, and through these mechanisms I'll ensure.
Thank you, Muskan.
Thank you, sir.
You talked about Panipat, so are these epithets, like we say it's a city of weavers, it's a textile city, so do they still hold? Like from your personal experience, you have a family business. So are the Chinese products not taking over, like all the bed sheets that we find? They are all imported in many shops.
So I think the epithets still hold true. I am from Panipat and I can feel how much the city is still the textile hub of the world, because I see it from within my family, the city around, almost 60-70% or more people of Panipat are involved in one of the ways in the textile industry. Somebody will be importing parts, somebody will be making thread, somebody will be designing or dyeing. The city is still involved in that. And so while because of globalization, there is competition from countries like China, Bangladesh, that is there, but our country is also not behind in upgrading itself. We are trying to get better machinery, better resources to give a good fight to these countries and not leave the stronghold over the textile sector that we have.
True, but do statistics in themselves reveal the ground situation? Like, this is a broad-based term.
Sir,
City of weavers or textile city, or we may say we are the largest technical and scientific and IT manpower. So that is a very broad brush term. But from your personal experience, do people feel that they are able to take on this competition, or do they feel they are lacking somewhere?
Sir, from my personal experience, I think there are some companies, some sectors that are doing well, and some are actually struggling. For example, because of the greater mechanization that has come, the poor labor is not able to get continuous job. Because of the greater mechanization that has happened, and because the competition has become so high, the profit margins have reduced. So the sector is struggling in different ways, but I still think that Panipat remains a stronghold of the textile sector.
And where does Panipat figure in this list of critically polluted industries?
So Panipat is very high in in terms of that. It is also quite a polluted city, also because there is the textile there is the oil refinery and the thermal power plant also in Panipat.
Fine. And do you recall there's a term called Panipat syndrome? What is it?
Yes, sir. Sir, I have read about the Panipat syndrome.
Who coined it?
Sir, I cannot recall
It's a
who
strategic
coined
term
it.
following from the Panipat, Battle of Panipat.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have read about it, but I am not able to recall it.
Then about the census, why is it being delayed? And it is not mandatory to conduct it every 10 years.
So the census has been delayed because of the pandemic. It was to be conducted in 2020-21, but because of the pandemic and and its fallout, the census has been delayed. And now perhaps it will be after the national election, the general election.
You know, that's okay, but does the law mandate that it has to be held every 10 years?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The census has been conducted.
It has been, but does the law mandate that necessarily it has to be done every 10 years?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not sure about what the law says, but conventionally it has.
The law does not say. It says the central government may.
Okay, sir.
And then who you said about you were working on this migration of the
labor.
educational aspect of migratory laborers, their children. So who conducts this data on migration? Is there an agency which collects the data on migration?
Sir, the study that I conducted, with regard to that, I was trying to study the Odisha government along with the civil society has established seasonal hostels. So
but at the national level, is there an agency which collects the data on migration?
Sir, I am not sure about the agency. Maybe it might have to do something with the Labour Ministry, the Labour Bureau, but I am still not sure of the agency.
The census. The census only publishes the migration data at all India level.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
It comes with a lag.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
okay. Thank you.
All right, now coming back to some economics question, GST collections are on the rise. This time also it was more than previous year. What accounts for that? Why we are having more GST collections?
So there are several factors for that. So firstly, I think it is better tax collection. GST. Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. So I think GST. I was thinking about the income tax. The GST. So the indirect taxes. So firstly, I think we have to attribute it to the high growth rate. The country has been growing better, especially since the pandemic. We grew at 8.7% last year, and this year we're on track to grow by 7%. So, sir, this growth rate is one reason for better tax collection. And apart from that, sir, I think it's more formalization of the economy. Ever since demonetization and the pandemic thereafter, more sectors have become formal. Especially I see that in Panipat in the textile industry. Sir, greater formalization, and sir, more and more people are coming under the fold of GST because the input credit or tax credit that comes. Sir, I think these factors have ensured better GST collection.
Okay. The budget is in the making now. It will be presented soon after. What are your expectations from this budget, considering the state of economy?
So, considering the state of the economy, first of all, the government will try to meet its fiscal deficit target, and it will shape the budget in that way. The target, it will try to restrict its fiscal deficit to the 6% target that it has sent. Sir, I think the government will continue its capex push. It will continue to keep the capital expenditure investment high. Along with that, there will be greater focus on the PLI, the production linked incentive scheme, to give greater push to the manufacturing sector. Perhaps more industries, more sectors will come under its fold. I also think the government will. The government is already said that the NFSA will, the Garib Kalyan Yojana has been merged, the NFSA, this Garib Kalyan Yojana has been merged. In a way, now free fruit gains will be given for a year to about 75% of the Indian population. So that will also take a major chunk of the government resources. Apart from that, I think, so there will be greater incentive for the MSME sector, because this was the sector which was drastically affected by the pandemic. So, sir, I think these are the major sectors which the government will focus on.
What do you think about this controversial issue called the same-sex marriage? What is this kind of central government on same-sex marriage?
Sir, same-sex marriage is after the Section 37. Sir, this 377, if I'm not wrong, was diluted by.
That is homosexuality.
Yes, sir.
377 has nothing to do
Yes,
with
sir.
sex.
Yes, sir. That was the first step.
Now.
Yes, sir. It has been decriminalized, but same-sex marriage is still not legal in India. And while the Supreme Court is considering the issue, it has asked the central government to give its opinion. And as per my knowledge, I believe the central government has said that the country is still not ready to accept same-sex marriage.
What is the advantage of same-sex marriage? You can't produce a biological child, which is the primary function of the marriage. What are the demands for?
Sir, I think, sir, giving birth to a child is not the sole aim of a union of marriage. Sir, these are homosexual people who who are just like us, humans, who might have the desire to form a union of marriage for the kind of stability it offers, the institution of marriage offers. And sir, as a progressive democracy, the onus is on us to improve the living standard, the choices that people can have, and that is why I think that is why same-sex marriage debate has started again.
Whatever mentioning can be done without marriage also. Civility and their rights and all, they can just live and couple and enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. That's not the point. Certain rights will follow once you get married.
Yes.
Inheritance, for example.
Yes, sir.
Inheritance of property. And so I wanted your answer to be on those lines.
Okay, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
You can live in same sex, and nobody is preventing you to live in and enjoy all the points that you have said.
And there's
marriage
also
will bring some kind of rights to you.
Yes, sir.
They are deprived of those rights now, which a biological couple are having now. That is the main demand. For
Yes.
that. If you legalize it, by the way, remember which was the first country to legalize the same-sex marriage in the world?
I'm
It's
sorry.
legalized across various countries now. Holland was the one. Holland.
Netherlands, yes, sir.
All right, anything else? Yes, thank you, Muskan. We'll call you further.
Okay. Thank you,
Feedback
sir.
in a
Thank you,
minute.
ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
अब इंटरव्यू वो खत्म हो गया
बैठो,
फॉर्मली
बैठो,
बात
आराम
करो
से।
Thank
थोड़ा,
you, sir.
हाँ।
अब हम लोगों का इंटरव्यू
कैसा महसूस हुआ तुम्हें?
सर अच्छा लगा.
यू आर क्वाइट गुड. नहीं हमें मेरी बड़ाई मत करो कि हमारे क्वेश्चन अच्छे लगे. तुमने कैसे फील किया वो बताओ.
सर मुझे अच्छा लगा, कंफर्टेबल फील किया.
कंफर्टेबल फील किया?
कुछ चीज़ें नहीं आंसर कर
वो
पाई.
तो
but-
किसी के साथ भी होगा. वो तो विष्णु जी से भी पूछोगे तो बोल देंगे कि उनको नहीं पता मनी को उठा है, तो उसके लिए क्या करोगे आप? Now see, we are very happy with you, and that was expected. You are a young blood, very energetic and all. So we were expecting that you will come out with a good performance. Keep it to this level, and you can engage on variety of topics. लेकिन you said tourism, touring, traveling is one of your hobbies. You need to work along on that, because lots of questions will be asked. I could not ask because sir was asking.
No, actually the question which I asked somehow beach mein cut gaye. Now two aspects I wanted to ask you. Number one, I mean
Please.
that international you didn't mention ki which place would you prefer? Of course for posting you mentioned UK, but not for traveling. And number two, that say at this age, how have you traveled so much? Did you go alone or in a company of your own friends or with parents? You know, with whom? With
So-
whom did you travel?
Sir, in different ways. Some I went with my friends, some with my school.
You know, all
some-
mixed up, eh? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Achha, one is a question from my side totally. How is it in Panipat when we travel? We see a lot of achar shops,
Pacharanga.
pickle shops, pacharanga achar.
Rajranga achar.
Is it a normal product of that area or is it only on the
अब इंटरव्यू
main?
मोड में मत बताओ, ऐसी बात.
अभी है इंटरव्यू नहीं है just
Sir, पचरंगा इज अचार बहुत फेमस है पानीपत का. आई थिंक सर
नहीं और भी अचार होता है वहाँ
सर और
is
भी
it
अचार.
produced in the district in the area?
Yes, sir. Sir, as per my knowledge, I think there is a strong culture of achar making in Panipat. Every household, I mean, I know my family, my nani's family, everyone I can think of, achar is something that is always in people's plate. My dad will not have food without achar.
नहीं वो तो घर की बात हुई
It's a
but for
culture.
नहीं, but
selling.
मेरा क्वेश्चन आप हाईजेक कर रहे हैं.
Sorry.
टूरिज्म.
Tourism.
That's the moment you say that you have written that traveling is one of your hobbies.
Yes.
So what question I could not ask you. Now lots of tourism is being blamed on Josiphat debacle and this and that. So we are not practicing sustainable tourism. Wherever, go to Manali, well, full of vehicles, full of people, you know that. But you kind of supported tourism while addressing this gentleman, my colleague, about that traveling is good and all that. But then what we need to do is that we are also witnessing the bad impact of tourism on our environment and ecology. Give example of Josimat and all that. Tourism needs to be regulated also. On the one hand, it's good to travel and good to know the place and good to enjoy Josimat and all. But what are the effects that is being felt today? What happened to Josimat is also this, all the infrastructure was for whom? For the tourists. Ultimately, for the tourists only. More power is required, more people are coming, more roads are required, more vehicles will go and all that. So you have to relate it also that tourism also has got a dangerous aspect in India. It is damaging the ecology and environment and all that. So you have to, whenever you tackle about tourism, you have to bring in this aspect also in your answer.
And sir, along with that's a very good point. And also along with that, I would like to highlight how there are very beautiful spots of India which have not been, have not been on the radar of tourism yet.
Yeah.
And we should
When
highlight.
say
That's why
that
they are
need to be-
still there.
We are only.
They are still beautiful.
नहीं,
You see,
मैं उसमें
in the
answer
sense
देना
that excessive
पड़ेगा.
tourism brings the deterioration.
Yes, ma'am.
You to answer your question, we are concentrating only on Manali.
Yes,
Mussoorie,
that's my point.
Shimla.
We need to
There's so many
diversify.
places in Jharkhand, so many places in Odisha,
Yes,
there's so
but
many
people are
places in
doing it
Northeast
now.
which are not being
That's
developed
what I
at all.
wanted to highlight.
And that, yeah, you have to say it's a very good point that we are only just promoting tourism in Manali, so it will end up in.
Yes, sir. We need to
traffic smiles and this
diversify
and
the
that.
tourist
We have to
spots.
diversify the tourist spots.
Yeah,
and all
that is what people
It
are
will
doing
decongest the
constantly.
tourist spots and it will bring new economy and it will safeguard the ecology also. That
Yes,
will be
sir.
beautiful answer.
Yes, sir.
That's how you are supposed to.
So, like for example, everybody wants to go to Goa. There are very few people who've gone to Pondicherry, people who've gone to the Andamans.
Everybody goes to Goa.
Yes.
And there's so many other beaches are there in the country.
More beautiful beaches.
More beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Or to
She is a very good candidate and
Best
very
wishes.
good.
Thank you, sir.
And that Panipat syndrome, it was coined by Air Commodore Jasjit Singh.
Okay,
That
sir.
is about lack of strategic planning and thinking. Because in all the three battles of Panipat, we were found to be
Lacking in.
and allowed the enemy to enter
No,
inside.
on all the three battles, we did not win. The enemy is won.
हाँ.
Now, second, of course, Akbar won, but
और इसमें दूसरा aspect है about this tourism and other which we are discussing about this definition of urbanization itself. You know, you just brush over that definition. Only the statutory towns they have the municipal governance structure.
Yes. I know.
Elsewhere that structure is lacking. So you won't have even the basic amenities. So even if people thronging the place, it's deficient all across the country. You know,
on GST and budget, your answers were not to the point. You were trying to just go around. You see, GST collection is because more compliance has come. Why more compliance has come? There has been simplification of the procedures and rules and all. And of course, economic activities also have given rise to that, but compliance is the main thing, and simplification of the laws, GST laws.
maybe, but then it has not reached its potential. The potential of GST that was
Yeah, that's much more, but then it's increasing. And you have to
No,
answer that.
that is-
Budget also, you were giving everything MSME also, this also, that was not a good answer. We read, already things are coming. What should be priority in the budget? Economists, experts, they are talking about that and list out some points and then talk from that. You are talking from your own thing.
I was talking about the general,
हाँ,
what
तो
the government
I
is.
could make it out that you are just trying to make a general picture of the budget.
Muskan,
कोई भी बोल देगा.
when is your interview?
So the date has not come.
Oh, not.
अच्छा तब तो बजट का अच्छी तरह से पढ़ लें.
Yes, ma'am. अभी अच्छे से.
ठीक है,
Well,
ऑल द बेस्ट.
reasonably well on IR topics because you are doing from JNU.
I've done my masters from JNU, sir.
SIS.
Completed. Sir?
Which center? SIS.
No, sir. Triple S. Center for Political Studies.
CPS.
Oh, you are from CPS?
Yes, sir.
But then it's not IR course, it's political science.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
from SIS, so
Okay, sir.
two of us are from JNU.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So I was in SIS, but I thought you were from SIS.
I took some course from SIS.
papers लिए होंगे.
South Asian Study
Well,
Center
that is always
से
there.
Indian Foreign Policy का paper लिया था.
Which hostel you stayed in?
I stayed in Shipra Hostel and Koina Hostel.
Koina.
The new hostels.
When did you pass out?
2021.
2021.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, that was during the pandemic, so you
Yes,
may not
sir.
be in the hostel. You must have
Ah,
been
okay.
evicted.
I was in hostel for some time till from July 2019 to March 2020. I was in
बस,
hostel.
it's good.
Then we came back again in January 2020. January
And
2021.
this is which attempt of IS?
So this is my third attempt. First mains, first interview.
First time you qualified mains.
Yes.
And the prelims, how many times qualified?
I could not qualify. This is the
This is
first.
the first one, prelims, mains, both you have qualified. Wonderful. You will do well.
You will do well.
Anything to ask and all, you can take my contact number from the office on IR other issues. I'll try to guide if time permits.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. You will do well.
Thank you.
sir.
All the best.
Ma'am, thank you.
You're going to wear a sari, I hope.
Yes, ma'am. I will wear a sari.
Now, see, let me give you a warning also. Lots many institutes have come up with mock interviews and all that. Many of them may not give you the right guidance and all that unless there is a very mature board and all that. So don't go with other ideas to the board. Other ideas you cannot defend. You can defend only your own ideas. Don't go to the interview board with borrowed ideas.
Yes, sir.
Borrowed ideas are very difficult to defend.
Yes, sir.
This is a very strict warning to you. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.